That's my home. I named him Truck, and we're parked on the side of the Alaska Highway for the night. I departed Whitehorse earlier that day, headed for home on BC's southwest coast. I had 2 weeks to make the journey, which to some may seem like plenty of time, but for myself, it felt incredibly rushed, especially given I was taking a rather circuitous route that ended up being over 3,500 kilometers. I'm a firm believer in the journey being the destination. Living on the road as a nomad, driving is a big part of my life, as much as any of the places that I go. I'm not a big fan of rushing from A to B. I want something more for my gas dollar than just the end destination. I want to make memories along the way, and I find it much more enjoyable to go at my own pace, which, after almost 10 years on the road full time, is rather relaxed. I'm a dawdler. I'm in it for the long haul. Van life, that is, and I know to be careful not to burn myself out, so I like to stop often to take a little walkabout, and occasionally even enjoy the touristy stops along the way, starting with the Signpost Forest in Watson Lake, Yukon. It was a lot bigger than I was expecting. I was blown away by the amount of signs and surprised to see that people planned well in advance of their visit, even going so far as to have custom signs made to leave behind there. It was a really neat place to wander around, even if it was a little overwhelming trying to take it all in. Frank absolutely loved it there, as I'm sure many dogs have left their mark as well. So it was great to see Frank so engaged and energized. We left our own little mark as well before getting back on the road for one last little stroll in the Yukon. Back on the road, I was soon entering BC and faced with bison on the road. This was my first time taking the Alaska Highway, having opted for the Stewart-Cassiar every previous trip to and from the Yukon. But I had been informed that the bison were almost a guarantee to see, and also warned that they liked to hang out right on the road, which was completely accurate. It ended up being a really big first full day of my southbound drive because after the 3 stops in the Yukon and entering BC and seeing the bison, I made 2 more stops to check out some waterfalls before a bucket list camp location. Hello from BC. I am at the Liard River Hot Springs. It's really nice. It's like 10:30 at night and I'm the only one here. Everyone was leaving as I was coming down the boardwalk, so it's kind of perfect. But yeah, I've never been here before. It is a really popular spot. And probably one of the main reasons why I decided to take this route. I've taken the Stewart-Cassiar 5 times now, and this is my first taking the Alaska Highway, so it's pretty exciting. Spent about 3 hours working up the courage to come out to the pool in case there was people, and it worked out that my trepidation resulted in me getting to be here alone, which might not happen tomorrow or the next day, so I'm gonna savor it while I can. All right, I'm on my way back to the spring to soak. It's like 2 in the afternoon. I tried to get caught up on sleep last night because I've been averaging like 5 hours a night or less, which just is not enough. So today is a day for rest, healing, and recovery. Hi. So I'm pretty sure that was a pine marten. They're so cute. I haven't seen one quite that big before. But I also, in my watching for the pine marten, passed the only people that were at the spring on their way out, which means I'm going to once again have it on my own. Luck is really on my side lately. After 2 nights camped at the hot spring, which is a provincial park, I was back on my way, although it wasn't long until I stopped to go for a little walk in the next park down the road. Come early November, the days are starting to get pretty short, and since I actually want to see the sights around me, I continued until it was almost dark and pulled off for the night on a side road. I woke up below this mountain and went for a wander down the OHV trek to savor my surroundings before starting another day driving. Road conditions were actually quite good, and I felt totally relaxed behind the wheel. I think it helps that I was having such a great time on a new to me route, and that I also feel no need to drive beyond the conditions, especially knowing there's plenty of wildlife around. After crossing east of the northern Rockies, the surrounding area became much less interesting. It was just snowy road, snowy trees, and periodic fog. So I drove until the end of the day and stopped for the night at a roadside rest stop, before continuing on for another full day of driving on snowy roads lined with snowy trees and periodic fog. These 2 days felt grueling, but what I saw on my daily walk more than made up for the monotony. I was about to go check out that sign I thought was right there, but it's a moose. It's a moose. Oh, I'm kind of scared of them on foot. Alright, so I did not expect to get to the top and there to be a moose grazing. and it really doesn't care that I'm here. Yeah, it is like sunset, so I'm gonna head down. I just did yeah, it was a long day on the road again, and just, yeah, glad I could squeeze something in. It was another night at a rest stop because I'm just not willing to risk getting stuck on a side road in the snow, but thankfully I was almost through northern BC. Well, it wasn't far to get up here, but it was pretty steep. But yeah, it's a great break from the road. I was actually doing a bunch of work in the parking lot because I'm really, really struggling to not fall way behind on all my work responsibilities during this drive. But yeah, it is nice to be snow-free ground. Came around a corner about 100K back, and yeah, the ground was clear for the first time in weeks. So I don't think that will be the case the rest of the drive south. I think there is going to be some areas with snow, but it's definitely a nice break for going for a walk. So yesterday I was pretty happy when I drove to the end of the snow and the road was bare, and I got to come up this dirt road and stay at a wreck site last night, which was really, really quiet. I was actually planning to go into town, but once I got here, I had to take this opportunity. But then today I woke up to So I really do love the snow. It's so pretty and I love the cozy vibes, but it does make backroad living pretty hard. But it was really nice to have a quiet night last night, like just nature, silence, and yeah, it was a nice change from the 2 previous nights at truck stops. Are you ready to come back inside? It felt really, really good to get to hang out with some big trees again. I did not realize how much I had been missing cedar until I was once again with the cedar. Before that walk, I had actually passed through Prince George and turned east to head back into the mountains, where I would end up seeing a lot more waterfalls than I was really expecting. I had decided on my way south that I wanted to drive as much new to me road as possible, and that meant into the Rockies. I'd never seen Mount Robson before, so I took a moment to just stop and enjoy it, since it really was the only mountain in the Rockies I was particularly interested in seeing, but it wasn't long after that that I entered Alberta and then the Icefields Parkway, which, after almost 10 years living in a van full time, this was actually my first time ever driving the Icefields Parkway. I've never even been a passenger on it, and I guess that's just because I'm not that into the Rockies, which I'll speak a bit more on, but first, there were some waterfalls that I did enjoy. So, the Rockies. I don't dislike them. I mean, they're nice. They're a bunch of big mountains, but I just prefer the coast mountains. I like the vibe of that a lot more. I've spent most of my life in the coast mountains, and I just find it a lot easier to get by, especially for free, and especially not necessarily having as many rules and restrictions imposed upon you. The Rockies are super popular and for good reason, but with that comes a lot of rules and restrictions and fees, and that just makes it for me not really worth spending a lot of time here. And it was only because I was coming during such a quiet time of year that I was even willing to come for a little visit. Katabatic winds are strongest in the fall. Yeah, I'm not surprised to read that. The wind is pretty intense most of the time. Yeah. I'm having a great time though. Oh boy. Given that it was my first time along the Icefields Parkway, and I don't exactly intend to go back anytime soon, I did make a lot of stops along the way to check out mountains and lakes before eventually starting my journey back west into BC. Plans had come up requiring me to get home to the coast a day sooner than originally intended, so I had to make some quick moves into the mountains and through several tunnels back into familiar terrain where I drove into the night and over a ferry before finally calling it a day. Well, good morning. It is day 11 on the road. I am exhausted. I am absolutely exhausted. I have today, tomorrow, and then the next day I need to arrive, and I still have about 1,000 kilometers to go. And I need to go to my storage locker, which is why I've been on this entire circuitous route to begin with, which I made slightly longer by wanting to drive roads I've never driven before so that the drive would be more exciting if I was seeing new things. Anyways, I found this camp spot last night in the dark. There was a gate open that I'd never seen open, and so I came in and found this like sweet tucked in spot by a lake, and it started raining early last night, and it just rained all night and into today, which was great. So I got a huge sleep. I'm feeling rejuvenated. The rain is making me feel like I'm so much closer to home, and yeah, it's gonna be a big couple days, so I'm just gonna finish my cozy morning beverage, and then we're gonna get on the road and go just like deal with some stuff I need to deal with at my storage locker. I have like a few things I want to get, a couple things I want to drop off. Yeah. And then, yeah, big driving all the way across BC the next couple days. I started in the northwest corner of BC, traversed the north to the northeast, and then down to like north central, and then down to like southeast, and now I have to go all the way to southwest. BC is huge. BC is a massive province. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I spent what felt like all day at my storage locker. I really had a lot of work to do in there, but it was good for Frank because he was just able to sleep. He doesn't really sleep when I'm driving. He's a very on the lookout co-pilot, and so this trip has just, I could tell, was really wearing on him because it was just causing him to have to be awake more than he normally would. But it felt great to get done what I needed to do, and then I was able to continue west through southern BC, through all of the desert portion of southern BC, which I really enjoy, but I just didn't film much of my crossing of southern BC because I have shared it many, many times on this channel. But it was great to get back into the final mountains before home, where Frank had a really good time in the snow. I had planned everything strategically so as to drive through the lower mainland well after rush hour, and then I could arrive home just in time the next day. I am home, and it feels so good. It feels so much better than I expected it would, and I'm sure it helps that I've arrived on a sunny day, but I was surprised to see that it's still autumn. There's still trees with gold and red leaves, so it's really nice. So I'm actually just parked in town right now because I need to do some work before getting on with my life here. And so I went over to my favorite donut shop and I got Frank a doggy donut. And before you guys go off at me about how dogs aren't supposed to eat donuts, it is a dog donut. They are formulated for dogs. There is no sugar. It is mostly peanut butter. He loves it. Squamish is a very, very dog-friendly town. Well, not as much as it used to be. They're a lot stricter about leashes and stuff, but I mean, we like that because Frank doesn't want random dogs running up to him, but lots of good dog treats and stuff. So today's closing scene is going to be Frank enjoying his doggy donut. And yeah, every time I've ever given him a dog donut, somebody has scolded me about it. And I'm not just like giving him Tim Hortons. I won't even eat that crap. So anyways, yeah, it was a really, really long drive. And it's kind of interesting filming this outro because I don't actually know like what any of the video was really about, because it was basically all voiceover and I haven't written or recorded that yet. So in a way, you know before me the content of this video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping you'll stick around for what's to come with winter, which I guess I'll talk to you about in the next video. It'll be a bit of a life update. So until then, I hope you have a great week. A huge thank you to patrons, and we'll see you soon. you.